But a lot of the media personnel, man, they are upset with Kevin Stefanski because he won't move on from Joe Flacco, and the Cleveland Browns fan base deserves better. Now, I've told you guys plenty of times that this is not about bashing Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel needs an opportunity as well, but the Cleveland Browns' best quarterback on that roster right now, me personally, and a lot of people's opinions, is Shedeur Sanders.
The Browns thought benching Shedeur Sanders was just a minor tweak, but what they really pulled was the plug on their last ounce of hope. Fans showed up expecting fireworks and instead got a soggy sparkler stuck in a dumpster fire. Now ratings are collapsing quicker than a Joe Flacco moonball into triple coverage. Cleveland's faithful fan base is vanishing, like they suddenly remembered errands more exciting than football. But why is the dog pound emptying quicker than the Browns' postseason dreams? Trust me, you'll want the answer.
And the Cleveland Browns, fresh off their upset of the Packers. There was a lot of chatter about the Browns defense, the Lions offense, and it was close. This is another one where
score doesn't really tell you the game.
34-10 doesn't tell you the story of the game. The Browns were in it, and it was interesting. They just can't muster enough on offense. Quinshon Judkins has been very good. Joe Flacco, going into the game, was the lowest qualifying starting quarterback and passer rating in the league.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns didn't just drop a game to the Detroit Lions. No, that would have been far too ordinary. What they delivered instead was a full-blown seminar on how to alienate your own fan base, test the limits of an entire city's patience, and sink national TV ratings so spectacularly that even Netflix executives are probably mailing Kevin Stefanski a thank you basket.
Shedeur Sanders up to fail. Today's decision in game may be the proof that they needed, because not only do fans think it's weird that Shedeur Sanders got taken out at the end of the game, but even some former NFL players are speaking out on this subject.
Damn.
See, if you didn't watch today's preseason game, late in the game, Shedeur Sanders was in at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Well, when it got to be the 2-minute drill, but the coaching staff said, nope, Tyler Huntley, you go in and you do the 2-minute drill. Now, everybody thought this was weird because Tyler Huntley was brought in just because the quarterbacks were getting injured. He was never...
If you're enjoying, please subscribe Shedeur Sanders to the channel. It helps more than you think. This wasn't a football game. It was a hostage drama with Joe Flacco starting at quarterback as the ransom clause. Fans tuned in holding out hope, waiting for Shedeur Sanders to finally hit the field and breathe life into a franchise that's been starving for decades. Instead, the Browns rolled out a veteran whose style makes a tax seminar feel like edge-of-your-seat entertainment. The chorus of TVs clicking off in frustration wasn't just loud. It could probably be tracked from outer space.
Wonder, wait, if the veteran's going to turn the ball over and make shaky decisions, why not just go with the rookie and see what he got there and let him turn the ball over and make shaky decisions?
We're big Joe Flacco fans, but at a certain point, the defense is getting the job done. Quinshon Judkins has been more than I think what they could have hoped for. Since it's only been 23 days since he signed his contract. And Kevin Stefanski, the coach of the Browns, was asked yesterday about the starting quarterback situation. Obviously, when we struggle like we did on offense, I understand the question, but that's not our focus. Whatever that means.
Yeah, he's trying to not make the focus the quarterback situation. But you heard me say at one point in the viewing room yesterday, what did I say about this game? I said, if they would just have kneeled on the ball, this game would have been 10-7 in the third quarter.
The numbers tell the story. 40% of viewers bailed the moment the lineups were announced. Not 20, not 30, 40. That's not a dip. That's the NFL's equivalent of an extinction-level event. Picture spending billions on primetime rights only for Cleveland to drive your audience straight into the arms of YouTube cat videos. At this pace, advertisers would be better off pushing their products during late-night cooking show reruns than wasting airtime on Browns football.
Between when Scott Petrak yesterday asked Kevin, is Joe going to be the quarterback? He was non-committal, obviously. Scott followed up, still gave no straight answer. Zach's opinion, I spoke to Zach earlier today, his opinion was that at the time of that press conference, Kevin Stefanski was not sure who the quarterback was going to be. Do you believe that as well? And who do you think is going to be the quarterback this week?
Yeah, he might not have known during that press conference. And I asked him after the game, of course. It seems like every week I ask him in the post-game press conference, are you sticking with Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
And he was non-committal after the game, too, which in previous weeks, he's gone right to Joe's our quarterback.
This wasn't just fans casually flipping the channel either. This was organized rebellion. People weren't saying, hey, let me see what's happening in the Chiefs game. They were deleting apps mid-broadcast. They were canceling Sunday ticket subscriptions in real time. They were posting videos of themselves turning the game off. And those clips got more views than the actual Browns broadcast. That's how bad this has gotten. Social media influencers profiting off the sheer misery of Cleveland football. And social media didn't just trend, it imploded. Hashtags exploded across platforms like a digital riot. Fans weren't begging anymore. They were issuing ultimatums. The Browns benching Shedeur wasn't seen as a coaching decision. It was treated like organizational malpractice. You could scroll through Twitter and practically see the flames roasting Stefanski's headset. TikTokers filmed themselves hurling remotes across the room. Instagram stories looked like emergency broadcasts. And viral tweets racked up millions of impressions in hours, all hammering home the same point. Cleveland is unwatchable without Shedeur Sanders. Meanwhile, out on the field, the comedy continued. Joe Flacco, the eternal safety blanket quarterback, spent the evening perfecting his favorite trick, 3 and outs. He threw so many checkdowns you'd think he was allergic to throwing beyond 5 yards. Detroit didn't even need a complex defensive scheme. They just lined up, yawned, and waited for Flacco to hand them back the football.
Losing this team, and Stefanski needs to be fired. I mean, I've been only talking about this for 3 weeks, but he has to go. This has to end. They're out there with 9 minutes to go in the game. Did you hear Oliphant or who was it that called the game? Over there talking about, look at these guys. They're listless. They're not even trying. There's no sense of urgency out there with this offense. Because they every time they get something going, Stefanski calls play action and chuck it. We're going to quarterback sneak with Flacco twice.
The Lions, on the other hand, played like they understood they were on national TV. Explosive plays, highlight reels, tempo that had fans buzzing. It was like watching 2 different sports at once. Detroit put on fireworks, Cleveland lit a candle and prayed. By halftime, the game was already over. But the real story wasn't the scoreboard. It was the continuous decline in viewers as the Browns continued their stubborn experiment in irrelevance. And this wasn't just a football failure. It was a financial earthquake. Broadcast executives were allegedly texting each other during the game with panic levels usually reserved for stock market crashes. The NFL is built on viewership stability. Primetime games are supposed to be the league's crown jewel, but instead of a ratings bonanza, the Browns managed to single-handedly turn a Sunday night showcase into a ghost town. Sponsors weren't laughing either. Major brands didn't sign up to pay premium ad rates for a Browns team showcasing retirement home offense. They paid for Shedeur Sanders, the generational talent, the highlight machine, the guy who actually attracts new demographics. Instead, they got Joe Flacco handing the ball off into a brick wall, while cameras panned to a visibly frustrated Shedeur shaking his head on the sidelines. Imagine being a marketing executive who built an entire campaign around Sanders' charisma, only to watch your ads air during a game that people literally abandoned mid-broadcast. That's not exposure, that's brand damage.
Oh my goodness, I'm frustrated. I'm disgusted by the offense. And once again, it's Joe Flacco throwing 2 interceptions and fumbling the football again. And he was bailed out. He would have actually had more turnovers if not for a defensive holding penalty. That's simple. It's plain and simple why we lost. The defense, once again, did what they could until they couldn't do no more. And the Browns were blown out. Bench Flacco, start Gabriel, start Shedeur, pick one of them. Let's see a rookie, because we're done with the abysmal quarterback play in Cleveland.
And you can bet the league office noticed, because while the NFL claims to let teams run their own show, the truth is, this is an entertainment empire first, sports league second. If one franchise's bad decisions start costing the entire league money, alarms go off in New York. When 40% of an audience walks out on a primetime game, That's not a minor concern. That's DEFCON 1 for the commissioner's office. Don't think for a second they aren't calling Cleveland asking what in the world they think they're doing. Meanwhile, inside the locker room, frustration is boiling. Veterans understand perfectly well that television money funds salaries. When coaching decisions start draining revenue, it isn't just about wins and losses. It's about everyone's paychecks. Word around the locker room is that even the players are questioning Stefanski's judgment. Offensive linemen are tired of blocking for drives that go nowhere. Defensive players are sick of being dragged back onto the field after yet another 3 and out. And every camera in the stadium caught Shedeur Sanders' body language as he shook his head, gestured toward the field, and silently asked what every fan was already screaming at home. Why am I not out there? Even more brutal, this rebellion isn't just from casual fans who hopped on the Sanders bandwagon, lifelong Browns supporters, the people who stuck around through Johnny Manziel, through coaching carousel after coaching carousel, through decades of despair. They're the ones leading the walkout. The people who never left are finally saying enough is enough. Season ticket holders started listing their seats in the middle of the game.
A 21-year-old standing behind him who's battering ram, but you're going to let the 40-year-old who can barely move sneak it twice. It's just the logic, the thinking, everything about it is a complete freaking disaster, and it's Kevin Stefanski's watch. It is all under him. Why? How does he still have his job? How is that even possible?
And yet here we are. National media isn't holding back either. ESPN analysts are dedicating entire segments to the catastrophe. Former coaches are openly calling Stefanski's decisions career suicide. Even Hall of Fame executives are suggesting the league may need to step in. Because when a coach isn't just losing games, but actively costing the NFL money, that's a level of incompetence the Shield can't tolerate. Stefanski's response: the usual robotic line about Flacco giving them the best chance to win, except nobody's buying it anymore. Not the reporters, not the fans, not the players, not the advertisers. He isn't just losing credibility, he's bleeding it out in front of everyone. And the hot seat he's sitting on might as well be hooked up to a furnace at this point. Ownership can't be thrilled either. Jimmy Haslam has made it clear he backs Shedeur Sanders as the future, and sources suggest he's privately fuming about what this fiasco is doing to the franchise's value. The Browns have spent years trying to prove they're not the league's eternal punchline, and in one stubborn stretch of games, they've managed to undo all of it. Imagine being the owner and watching national broadcasts get pulled. Sponsors rethink deals, ticket sales collapse, and your head coach standing there insisting Joe Flacco is the way forward. That's not just frustrating, that's humiliating.
Major, yeah, Kevin Stefanski is shooting. And he's gunning to put a plan in this week to pull off a win. So as you can see, Kevin Stefanski is doing his press conference after the loss to Detroit Lions. Yeah, you can't make this up, as this man has more excuses and taking a lot of the blame. Blaming it on the coaches, we didn't do good enough. Yes, we didn't prepare them enough. How many games and how many press conferences you're going to do with the same exact line that we didn't do good enough, we didn't prepare them well enough? You cannot make this up, as Kevin Stefanski is going to be let go.
And the front office, GM Andrew Berry reportedly pushed for Shedeur's return, armed with data proving he gave them the best chance to win. But Stefanski ignored it, creating a divide that only grows uglier with each loss. When a head coach dismisses the analytics guy in Cleveland, the birthplace of football analytics, you know the dysfunction is off the charts. The consequences are snowballing. Future draft prospects see this mess and think twice about Cleveland. Free agents demand more money to put up with it. Sponsors reconsider investments. The Browns' reputation, already fragile, is taking on water fast. And all of it because one coach decided to bench the one player who could have saved the season, the ratings, and maybe even his own job. And through it all, Shedeur Sanders continues to handle himself with class. He shows up, practices hard, supports teammates, avoids drama, but even he can't hide the frustration anymore. Cameras catch the eye rolls, the sideline conversations, the disbelief etched across his face. You don't need a microphone to understand what he's saying. The Browns are wasting his talent, and the whole league sees it. Fans aren't just mad, they're organized. They're canceling subscriptions, returning merchandise, boycotting games. They're not saying they hate the Browns, they're demanding accountability. They're refusing to pay good money to watch bad football, while a generational quarterback stands on the sideline.
And I said last week that at some point, you'll go to the rookie. It's a matter of when.
Yeah.
And this is the time.
Yeah.
It's the time. Maybe not this week because they're going to London, unfortunately. Yeah. But when they get back from being across the pond, they got to make a move.
All right, we'll get more into that in a little bit because I think we're going to probably all be in agreement on that. G. Bush, your instant reaction to the Browns?
Yeah, I done lost a lot of the vitriol and sting that it has because, we was talking about it beforehand. I played on some teams where, we went 1-10, and it's the only time I ever contemplating just straight, not wanting to play football, period.
And honestly, they're right. If any other entertainment company gave its audience exactly the opposite of what they wanted, it would collapse. The Browns are finding out the hard way that football isn't exempt from that rule. The meltdown is now so loud it's bigger than Cleveland. This isn't just about the Browns anymore. It's about the NFL asking itself a hard question. How much autonomy should a team really have if its decisions are tanking league-wide revenue? Because this isn't just a Browns problem anymore, it's an NFL problem. And that's the ultimate irony. The Browns didn't just bench Shedeur Sanders. They benched their fans, their sponsors, their networks, their future free agents, and maybe even their own relevance. At this point, there are only 3 paths forward. 1, Stefanski relents and puts Shedeur back under center, trying to salvage what's left of the season. 2, ownership intervenes, forcing the change and stripping the coach of authority in the process. Or 3, they double down, keep riding Flacco into the abyss and watch as their fan base evaporates faster than their playoff chances. None of those scenarios are pretty, but one thing is certain, this isn't sustainable. Not for the fans, not for the league, not for anyone. Because the Browns haven't just lost football games. They've lost trust. They've lost credibility. They've lost the one thing you can't buy back with sponsorships or ticket sales. The patience of a fan base that's already endured more than enough.
Seriously.
I don't know. Again, why was Mike Prefer let go? I ask that every time I think about why Buff is here. What did Mike Prefer do that was wrong? I know it's been a couple of years now. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I expect better results. This is 2 straight years of poor special teams play where they're unprepared in that phase of the game. I mean, you had a punt return collision. It was almost a fumble on a punt return because you had 2 guys. It was like the Keystone Cops out there. Guys slamming into each other. Loose footballs everywhere. Bodies flying everywhere, trying to fall on the loose ball. It's really, really.
The Browns didn't just bench Shedeur Sanders. They benched the future. And the only question left now is how long the league, the sponsors, the fans, and even Shedeur himself are willing to sit around and watch this slow-motion disaster continue. The Cleveland faithful, bless their traumatized hearts, stuck around just long enough to witness the moment Shedeur Sanders was benched again. And when that happened, boom, exit stage left. Remote controls clicked faster than you can say, "Why is Joe Flacco trending again?" It was like a mass exodus, a stadium-wide ghosting, but in living rooms across America. The ratings chart looked like a cliff dive without a parachute, and let's be real, who could blame them? You don't promise fans Shedeur Sanders, then yank him mid-performance like it's a Broadway understudy emergency. The league offices probably weren't thrilled either. You think Roger Goodell enjoys looking at those TV ratings plummeting harder than blockbuster stock? Networks pay billions for these games. And now one of them is tanking because Cleveland can't figure out whether Shedeur Sanders is a starter or just the world's most famous bench warmer. Imagine being in those production meetings. So, what went wrong? Well, we put Shedeur on the bench and everyone tuned out. Simple cause and effect. Like leaving milk out overnight. Spoiler alert, it goes bad. But here's where it gets hilarious. The Browns act like this is all part of some master plan. Some grand chessboard strategy. Like, don't worry fans, we're saving him for the right moment. The right moment? Sir, the right moment was yesterday. The right...
Get over to Dylan Gabriel, but I'm not sure. I'm really not 100% sure. Some of it can be gamesmanship because this is an important football game to win. I know that might sound crazy because the Browns are 1-3, but so are the Ravens. And I see you guys had a graphic up earlier that the AFC North is a mess. And that is why this game is so vitally important. If you can get to 2-3 and start to be hanging around and keep yourself in the mix a little bit, anything can happen. We know Joe Burrow is out for 3 months. We know that the Baltimore Ravens are a mess right now. And if Pittsburgh doesn't completely run away with this, then there is a world in which the Browns can stay in this or get back in this a little bit if they start to string together some victories.
The right moment was when fans were screaming at their TVs, ready to tattoo Shedeur's name across their foreheads. The right moment was when the entire viewing audience begged you not to unleash Flacco's greatest hits, Volume 74. Instead, they benched the kid who could have made things interesting and doubled down on Grandpa's pocket passer parade. The fallout is almost poetic. Social media became a war zone. One half of the fans shouting, "Put Shedeur back in," while the other half was too busy packing up their Browns gear for donation. The memes? Oh, they came in hot. Flacco's highlights slowed down to the speed of dial-up internet. Shedeur's face plastered over Free Willy posters. And the ratings graph? Oh, that one got memed into a ski slope. You don't need ESPN analytics to tell you fans bailed. The internet already made it painfully clear. Meanwhile, the Lions must have been laughing their kneecaps off. Detroit didn't even have to break a sweat. Cleveland's coaching staff basically handed them the W on a silver platter wrapped in aluminum foil. The Lions' defense had their feet up like they were watching Netflix. Every time Shedeur was sent to the bench, Detroit defenders were like, "Oh, sweet coffee break." That's not competition. That's sabotage disguised as coaching decisions. And let's not forget the broadcasters. You could hear the despair in their voices. They were trying, bless them, to hype up every Joe Flacco throw, like it wasn't floating through the air with the urgency of a paper airplane. You know it's bad when announcers start talking more about concession stand nachos than what's happening on the field. That's how
the thing that showed Joe Flacco like that he just can't play this position today. There's one play in particular outside of the turnovers. He's scrambling for a first down. It's like 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 3, and he scrambles. And this dude, it can clearly get the first down, and he slid for a 1-yard gain or something like that. And I'm like, Joe, that guy was 10 steps away from you. You couldn't. He was so slow, and he knows that if he dives, it might be a career ender. He might be getting destroyed, turned to dust, and he knows that. So he can't even take those chances.
That's how desperate they were to fill airtime while viewers were clicking away to literally anything else, reruns, weather channels, even those obscure documentaries about goats in the Swiss Alps. The Browns thought this would be just another game, but what they didn't realize is that by benching Shedeur, they essentially triggered the football version of Chernobyl. The fallout wasn't just about the loss, it was about the embarrassment of having your fan base abandon you in real time. It was about becoming the punchline on late-night shows, the meme stock of the NFL. The team that couldn't hold on to viewers even with a hyped rookie quarterback in uniform. And now, the aftermath is even juicier. Sponsors are nervous, the league is side-eyeing Cleveland, and fans are already threatening to boycott future broadcasts. Imagine telling your advertisers, "Sorry, your ad didn't reach as many viewers because we decided to go with the quarterback equivalent of VHS in a Netflix world." Not a great pitch, is it? The Browns, once again, have managed to make a mess so spectacular that it'll probably be studied in sports marketing classes. But let's be real. The only plan happening in Cleveland right now is figuring out how to spin this disaster into something remotely salvageable. And good luck with that. Because when your ratings collapse like a house of cards in a wind tunnel, there's no press release on earth that makes people forget you benched the one guy worth watching.